Mr. Rush was the fastest thing on two legs. He used to rush hither and thither, and thither and hither, and back again all the time. And of course, he was always in such a rush that he never ever finished anything properly. One morning he woke up with a jump. He'd only had time for 3 hours' sleep because he'd been rushing about for so long the day before. Oh dear, he cried, leaping out of bed. I'm late. And he rushed into his bathroom, washed, not very well, as he was in such a hurry, and cleaned one tooth, and rushed downstairs 3 at a time. He had a boiled egg and toast and a cup of tea for breakfast. He boiled the egg for 5 seconds, and it tasted awful. He toasted the bread for 1 second, so it wasn't brown at all. And as he couldn't bear to wait for the kettle to boil, he made his tea with cold water. What a horrid breakfast. And of course he was in such a rush that he only ate half of it. Rush. Silly fellow. After his half of breakfast, he rushed off again. Out of his front door, leaving it open, down his garden path, out of his garden gate, leaving it open too, and off down the lane. He passed Mr. Happy. Hello, called Mr. Happy. Morning, Mr. Rush. Where are you off to? Can't stop, cried Mr. Rush. I'm in too much of a hurry. I can see that, thought Mr. Happy to himself as he watched Mr. Rush disappear into the distance. I wonder where he's going. Where Mr. Rush was going was nowhere. Fast, as usual. He rushed around all the morning, then he rushed home, had a quick bite to eat, a sandwich without bread, and then rushed off again and rushed around all the afternoon. That evening he was reading a magazine, never had time to read a book, when he saw an advertisement for a holiday. Oh, he said, "Oh, I'd like that. I haven't had a holiday for ages." But then his face fell. I can't go on holiday, he thought, because I don't have any money. Then he thought again, and his face rose. I know, he thought, I'll get a job. And so the following morning he rushed off and got a job with a farmer, milking cows. But of course he wasn't any good at that, because if there's one thing a cow can't stand, it's being rushed, especially when it's being milked. So Mr. Rush rushed off and got himself another job, driving a bus. But of course he wasn't any good at that, because he was always in such a rush, he never stopped at any of the bus stops. And if there's one thing people waiting at a bus stop don't like, it's when the bus doesn't stop for them. Poor Mr. Rush. No job, no money. Oh dear, he sighed to himself. I'm never going to be able to go on holiday. He looked very glum and gloomy. But then an idea struck him. An idea for a job for someone who rushes around all the time. An ideal job for someone who was the fastest thing on two legs. Do you know what that job was? Would you like to know what that job was? A postman. Delivering express letters. Mr. Rush was so good at it that he delivered twice as many letters in half the time any postman had ever done it before. And soon he'd saved enough money for that holiday of his. And so, the very next week, there was Mr. Rush sitting on a beach in the hot sunshine under a palm tree on holiday. Oh, this is the life, he grinned, and rushed off for a swim. It was 15th that morning, and it wasn't even breakfast time.